Welcome, everyone. Hello. I am Jenny Ponzurek. Thanks for being here. All right. Sorry, I look around all over the places just to make sure everything's working okay and everything like that. Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit more about parent-friendly reports. I am Jenny Ponzurek, and my background is in this amazing field of school psychology, and I've been part of this field for over 20 years, and I love being able to provide trainings to a lot of school districts. One of my favorite topics to discuss is around report writing and really thinking about how we can make our reports a little bit more meaningful to our families. So last time I did a live, we talked about some tips for parent-friendly reports. If you haven't listened to that video, you can go back and listen to that one. And today, my tip is centered around, for those of you who are starting on this journey, meaning you're really looking at your reports and trying to figure out, how can I make this a little bit more parent-friendly? My suggestion, for me, the easiest place to start is the summary. Because for a lot of us, there's certain aspects of our report that might have some legal language in there. We might copy and paste things from IDA or our state regulation language. And sometimes our districts really want us to include that information. And like most of you, my reports have every test I gave, every score, my interpretation. But what I have really been focusing a lot lately is in the summary, because that's the place where usually you get to bring everything together for the reader, right? So this is the time to say, not only did I give some standardized tests, or not only did I give a rating scale, but I also did all these other things too, right? We interview, we review records, we do all of the different things. And so to me, the summary is a great place to bring it all together. And here's a great place to really tell the reader, which in my mind is the parent, general education, other assessment team members, this is what I learned about your student. Right? Instead of just reiterating and just copying and pasting, names of subtests or scales, or using a lot of words like clinically significant, or just what did you learn about this student? I think that is a really great place to start if you are kind of on this journey of, how do I make these reports a little bit more parent friendly? And when we really focus our attention on there, then I think it also helps in the next step, which is going to be explaining it to the family, right? So when I've spent that time in the report writing process and really tried to make sure that my wording in the summary is as parent-friendly as possible, then that's what I use when I'm going to go explain it to the family, right? Now, I will admit that when I'm doing my summary, like most of you, I have a summary at the end of my report, right? So we have all of our test results, and then we usually have a big summary, right? A couple paragraphs, and then we usually go into eligibility. So what I've been doing probably the last couple of years is, at the end of my sections, at the end of like a cognitive processing section or the end of the social emotional section, a lot of times I will put a small summary there. Right? Because a lot of times my speech and language pathologist has a summary, and so does my academic teacher. And I realized they all have summaries at the end, and I didn't have a summary at the end. So I've been adding that on in. And for me, because I will tell you, talking with so many school psychologists, a lot of psychologists will say that they kind of avoid the summary, right? It's one of the last things. And for some people say it's one of the hardest things for them to write. So I don't know about all of you, but I don't know if I've ever written a report by like opening up the document and starting on page 1 and just putting it in like in any sort of logical manner. I write reports like this. Why don't we just put some scores in and then you can take a break? Why don't you just do this part and then you can take a break, right? I write reports all over the place. And so summarizing it can be difficult if then I'm all of a sudden just trying to summarize when I've not written it in any sort of logical manner. So what I do for myself is I print the report out to proofread it because the computer, reading it on the computer, I will never find all of my errors. Print it on out, and while I'm proofreading it, I have a scratch piece of paper sitting next to me, and I am taking notes for my own report. I'm taking notes as I'm reading through the review of records, as I'm reading through the interviews, as I'm reading through all these different pieces. Oh yeah, don't forget, you want to bring that up. Oh, look at that thread we're seeing, right? So it's not just my test results. Our test results are supposed to be kind of a confirmation of all of our other, sources of data. And so being able to kind of see those threads, and then when I get to the summary, it's easier for me to say, oh, based on the record reviews and this, oh, and by the way, my standardized test too, this is what I found, right? This is what I found your kid is really great at. And if there are any areas of need, let's talk about that. But let's talk about that in a way that's going to be most effective for whoever's reading it by talking about what does it actually mean, instead of using fancy words like fluid reasoning. What does that actually mean? And what does that look like in the classroom, right? Always tying it back to what we see in the classroom, right? So that's my quick tip for you today. For those of you who are working on that parent-friendly report, start with a summary, right? Start with that summary. And if you need to do it in the same way that I do it, which is wait till you're proofreading so that you're reading it in that logical manner. Again, I just have a scratch piece of paper next to me with a little plus sign and a minus sign, and I'm just taking notes on all the different parts of my report. So then when I'm ready to write my summary, I have all of the highlights that I want to remember to include there. And usually once I'm reading through it from beginning to end, now I'm noticing all of those threads that we have documented throughout that report. So, if you are interested in some more tips on parent-friendly report writing, I'm actually doing a 2-hour training in just a couple of weeks. We're actually doing this as part of a 5-part training series. So we are going to be doing once a month a 2-hour training, so 2 hours of content and then an extra 30 minutes of question and answers to make sure that everyone gets their questions answered. So the first month in November, we're going to talk about parent-friendly report writing, and then we're going to have a session in December, January, February, and March. So we're also going to talk about explaining results. We are also going to talk about dyslexia. We are also going to talk about executive functioning skills. And then the last topic that we're going to be addressing as part of all these 5 is that really interesting topic of require special education, right? Out of all the kids that are struggling, unfortunately, still to this day, due to COVID-related building closures, why does this particular student require special education? So those are our 5 topics that we're going to be sprinkling from November through March. And if you are interested in learning more about these trainings, you just head over to my website, jennyponzurek.com. It's right there. You just click on the link. We tell you all the information. We have all of the dates, exactly when we're talking about all the topics. And if you can't make them live, yes, we're recording everything. Okay, so you'd be able to come back to it. And we're creating these trainings in a way that if you want to bring along your ed specialist or your speech and language pathologist or your occupational therapist so that everyone hears the information at the same time or can listen to the recording and then debrief together, that it's not going to be only school psychology focused. Okay, so we're going to have examples for a lot of different assessment team members. So yes, questions that come up. Yes, we have discounts for students. So if you are a practicum student or an intern, yes, we have discounts for you. Just check out the information on the website, jennyponzurek.com. And if you are thinking it might be helpful to kind of bring some people along, yes, we also take purchase orders as well. So if your district would like to financially support you being able to access these trainings, maybe your team to access these trainings, we do have that information and that purchase order information on the website as well. And yes, we do have discounts for districts who want to sign up, groups of people. So if you have any questions about the trainings, head over to the website, and if your question is not answered by the information over there, feel free to reach out to myself or my team. We'll get your question answered. And I hope to see you. If not, I hope this tip was helpful for you, and I will see you all next time.